The Flames head out east for the first time this season, and going 82-0 is still on the table.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess, and thank you so much for tuning in to this Friday edition of Locked On Flames. Today's episode is brought to you by Jess Medical. Get $20 off of Jess Medical's antibiotics when you use code LOCKEDON at checkout on jessmedical.com. Today, we are talking about the first of 5 games out east for the Flames, and the first one happens to be against Pittsburgh Penguins. So we're going to talk about who you need to watch, what you need to watch for, and because it is Friday, we are going to talk about winners and losers of the week. So let's keep it rolling, but make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts. We are here for you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, on all of your favorite podcast platforms, as well as YouTube. Super easy to support the show. Leave a nice little 5-star rating and a little review if you so choose. We are going to start with a wonderful little primer because the Flames are a Western Conference team, number 1, and they're going to Eastern Conference. And it's also the start of the season. Everyone is a new team, pretty much. I feel like there wasn't really much turnover, or there was a lot of turnover, rather, in most organizations, but Flames are 1-0. Penguins opened their season against Chicago earlier this week and lost. The Flames are actually catching the Penguins on a second half of a back-to-back. Right now they are playing the Washington Capitals, fellow nursing home residents, and they're catching a break here. I would say anytime you're playing a team on the second half of a back-to-back, realistically you have the upper hand, but where it's so early in the season as well, and everyone is kind of still working out those kinks, and you're more than likely going up against a backup player that hasn't played yet this season, backup goalie rather, that hasn't played yet this season. It's kind of like you can go to this game with a little more confidence, but this team cannot afford to go into any game underestimating an opponent. They have this habit of thinking that the easy wins, quote unquote, for those who are listening and not on YouTube, they look down. They play down to those easy wins and end up losing. It's not, look what happened against Chicago in Arizona last year. It was not a fun time for the Flames, and it's a little embarrassing, not because you lose, but because this was very easily avoidable, and the Flames are notoriously bad against backup goalies too, but it's reported that Pittsburgh is going to have Nedeljkovic in net, and I don't know if the Flames have faced him many times, because I feel like he's also been in the Eastern Conference a lot, so he hasn't seen much time against the Flames. But the Penguins are a weird team. Their legacy is, all those Stanley Cups, Sidney, Crosby, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin. Like, you have that as your legacy, and I think that anytime you're playing against, a Sidney Crosby, you might look at it a little differently, right? You're probably, I don't want to say starstruck, because at the end of the day, this is your job, but it's an honor to be playing against one of the best players in the world, or to be playing alongside him. So it's cool to see. I'm really not sure what the Penguins' trajectory is, because I feel like they're not retooling really. They're just getting older. Same thing with the Capitals. It's kind of like, okay, we've won our cup and now we're just going to ride this out and we're just going to make the most of it. But it's not the ultimate goal anymore, or at least I shouldn't say anymore, but right now, to win the cup. Teams do that. They do, because I mean, we have literally, and I'm talking about the Capitals so much as well because the Flames do play them on Monday, but we've seen that with the Capitals. They have let that team get so old. They gave Tom Wilson that hefty extension for the next 7 years. To me, that's crazy. But again, Flames are pretty much doing the same thing there with Huberdeau and Kadri. But I think being an older team on the second half of a back-to-back plays to the Flames' advantage here. It's very much a situation where the Flames could walk into this well-rested or incredibly jet-lagged, and they have no bearings, which, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if... I don't want to give them too much credit, but I feel like because they had the 2 days off between the games, they'll be okay. I think, they've had time to adjust, and ultimately, that's what you need in order to get on your feet ahead of this road trip. And I'm looking forward to the game. I do have some players to watch, something to keep your eye on. And we're going to talk about that coming up next. And before we do that, though, we are going to take a quick break here to talk about Jess Medical. Everyone should be empowered to take care of themselves and their loved ones. That's why Jess Medical offers the Jess Case. The Jess Case provides 5 antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind. So that way they're there. They're in the house and you need them when you need them. Jess Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand, and Jess Medical is simple to use. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Get $20 off on these antibiotics today from Jess Medical by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. I always appreciate y'all. I love seeing you in the comments, and it's great to be here for another season. So just like we all enjoy watching certain players, I think that it's okay to put certain ones under a microscope. I get it. Starting the season on a 5-game road trip out east, that's going to take a toll on anyone. And this is the opportunity that the Flames have to set the tone for the season, I would say. Went 7-0 or was it 7-0? No, it was like 5-0 to start last season, and then they lost 7 straight. And it's funny because they lost those 7 straight after beating the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. So let's hope that this is a smooth sailing for the most part after tomorrow's game, during tomorrow's game. But my first player to watch is actually Andrew Mangiapane. I thought that he had a fantastic game on Wednesday against the Jets. He had 3 points. He had 2 goals. I thought that he was just beaming with confidence, and that is something you need to see from him, and you want to see from him, because if you see any of these players playing with confidence and looking like their old selves, for the most part, obviously, you're going to have a good season. They're going to start off on the right foot and build that momentum. I'm interested to see where Huska puts him, and if he's going to kind of, slide up and down the lineup. Truthfully, I think that he needs to be on that top line more than Weegar, Sharangovich. I wouldn't be shocked if Mangiapane scores or at least earns a point or 2 tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. Nazem Kadri, I feel like he flies under the radar when discussing this team, and that's not a bad thing. I think that when you make the All-Star team your first year with the team, and you just won a Stanley Cup, you aren't going to be subjected to I mean, you're going to be subjected to criticism, but it's not going to be the same kind of level of criticism as, say, one of the guys like a Rasmus Andersson or an Elias Lindholm or Jonathan Huberdeau. I think that Kadri blends in, and that's not a bad thing. He did not find himself on the score sheet in the season opener, and we all know that there are intangibles that matter, that you cannot bring to a score sheet, and that are difference makers. I would like to see him either or both really do those difference making plays and go out there and make a difference, but also I want to see him on the score sheet. That's what you're paying him for, right? And I hope that he is able to find stability in the second line or on the second line, because you're going to need that second line to step up and really help and score. We've talked about this constantly, about how the Flames really do have so much to make up for in terms of offense. And now it gets a little bit harder with Jacob Pelletier being out. So it's going to be a little bit of a doozy, I would say, to kind of make up for that. But Kadri just exemplifies leadership. I think that it's grit. I think that it's growth. As a Bruins fan, watching him, like having him come to Boston for the playoffs, having to play against him in the playoffs, it was not fun. And it wasn't because he was like a lethal hockey player, a good hockey player opponent or anything like that. It was because of the physicality and the undisciplined. He was undisciplined, and it's definitely changed, I would say, over the last 3 years. And he has grown into a player that he knows how to pick his own battles. And I think that that's something we should commend, because you never want to be the team with the guy that has the guy. And especially a guy that's known for getting suspended, questionable hits, really anything that's not super positive. But, I do have to say hats off to Kadri for that, because I think leaving Toronto ultimately was the best thing for him and his game. I want to see where special teams takes him as well. I really do think that he is capable of more than just what we saw last season. He said it himself he did not have a good second half of the season. I think it was 46 or 47 games without a goal at one point. It could have been less, but that number sounds right. And that's hard. That is some Milan Lucic stat line. That is not acceptable. But he had a very long offseason the year prior, had to pick up and move, and then get acclimated to a team that was kind of in turmoil. So, I really think that he's just got to get warmed up. He's got to get going. All of these guys do. And we can't just write off someone's season after one game the same way you can't put all your eggs in one basket after one game. I also think that we need to be watching the two best defensemen on this team. You have Rasmus Andersson on your top pairing, Mackenzie Weegar on your second. You have them out there for about 42 minutes a game, depending on special teams. And that's incredible. I think that the Flames, they were both they both scored Wednesday night, and Rasmus Andersson scoring shorthanded is another reason to watch him. You are getting such a versatile player with him. He is a shutdown defenseman. He has the ability to be where he needs to be, read plays well, and also deuce when he's needed to and when it's asked of him. And I like that he does pass the puck, but he's also not afraid to shoot when he reads the play. So I would love to see more of that. I think we're going to be in for a treat with him and Hanifin together. I do like that. And Weegar had the second goal of the game, I believe, and he looked fantastic. He looked great offensively, obviously, nice shot, but defensively, he is just so good. And defense is like one of the most frustrating things because I feel like you can't measure it the same way that you can measure forward and offensive production. Like defense, you start getting into those graphs, and I don't have a graph to show you, but Mackenzie Weegar has consistently been a shutdown defenseman, and the Flames are so lucky to have two of those guys that they can split up and maintain the integrity of staying on their side. Both are right wingers. So no one's playing off their side. It's not going to be one of the situations where a player's uncomfortable because they're on their offside. There's less room for error there. And I think it's great. I'm really excited to watch them this season and see what they can cook up at even strength, but also on special teams. And my last player to watch is the one and only Jacob Markstrom. This is a given. I think any game you go into this season, you are going to have all eyes on Jacob Markstrom. Wednesday was a great performance. I know that people are going to say, well, he allowed 3 goals. Yes, he did, but he also stopped 34 shots. So let's be grateful. I thought that he looked better technique-wise, I guess, mobility-wise. The few times he did leave his crease, I did start getting a little heartburn. I got a little anxious there, but no, I think that Jacob Markstrom it's going to take a minute to build up that momentum. Again, a given. But for him to start the season off on a high note like that helps get that ball rolling and starts the momentum to build that momentum. And the Flames that's going to be the biggest thing, is them building off of the good momentum and just shaking off those bad vibes, because it never felt like they were going to turn a corner last year. And you don't want to see that. That's not a good time for the fans, the players, and anyone watching the product. And coming up next, we are going to wrap up the show with the winners and losers of the week. And before we do that, we are going to take a quick break here and talk about Sleeper. Andrew Mangiapane scores a hat trick. The Calgary Flames win the Stanley Cup. And if you want to win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. These are all possible scenarios for this season, but to have a chance at winning big, you need to play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. As the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. That's great. With stars like Rasmus Andersson, Jonathan Huberdeau, and Mackenzie Weegar, all you need to pick more or less on stats for these stars. Choose stats like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more. You heard me, Calgary Flames fan. 100 times the payouts and paying attention, and you get your picks right so you could win big. And now it is up to you to use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That is Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me as we wrap up the first official week of the NHL regular season. And I'm so happy, so grateful to be here with you for another season. Whether you've been here for a while or you're just tuning in, welcome. I hope you like snacks. And Nick will be back on Monday. He will be by himself for an episode. And I'm sure he's going to talk all about the games this weekend. And of course, get you ready for the game on Monday. But it's Friday. So we have to do winners and losers of the week. It took me a second, I'm not going to lie, to think of a winner because this week was not necessarily a good week for news, any news. It was a tough week. And I had to rack my brain a little bit, to be entirely honest. But the Philadelphia Phillies and Arizona Diamondbacks are both moving on to the NLCS. And that is so exciting. I love watching teams that haven't done well in a long time do well. Like this, they get their moment. They get their moment in the sun. And the Diamondbacks, I believe it's the first time in 18, 19 years maybe that they made the playoffs. So the first time in probably some of their fans' entire lives, which is crazy to me. I watched a lot of the Phillies game last night too. And what an electric environment. I've been to Citizens Bank Park, and if you have the opportunity to see a baseball game there, do it. It's such a gorgeous venue. I mean, it's still a newer ballpark in terms of other ones that are around, but there and Camden Yards are two of my favorite ballparks and absolutely ones everyone should visit. But the Phillies are fun. They are so fun. I am a big, big fan of teams celebrating. I don't care. I do think it's not this way anymore, but when the wild card was just one game, I really don't think you need to celebrate that. You don't need, you can have some beers. I don't think you need to bust out the champagne showers for that one, but Philly was living their best life last night, and it's great to see. But I don't have any losers this week because this week was a lot for many different people, for a handful, not even just a handful, but for a plethora of reasons. And I think that it's important for me as a podcast host to remind you all that you're all welcome here. This is a place for you to unwind for 30 minutes. I hope I make you laugh. This goal of the podcast is to just be informative, but also be a nice 30-minute escape because life is a lot sometimes. And as we roll into the holiday season, I know it's tough. It's tough for a lot of us. And if you are needing some love and support, here you go. And here's a big hug to anyone that needs it. My DMs on Twitter are open if you ever need someone to talk to, and know that you are loved and so cared for by not just me, but Nick as well. And that will do it for today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm Jess Belmosto, and I will catch you guys on Tuesday when I am back. Nick has you covered on Monday, and I am very much looking forward to chatting with you all and working our way through this East Coast road trip. I love that these games start at 7 o'clock. It's fantastic. But until then, enjoy your weekend, stay safe, stay hydrated, and be kind to yourself.